Hello, hello, hello. We're back. Uh, it's been, like I said, it's been a little while again, but back with another episode of Angular Unfiltered, where we talk all things Angular, talk with people in the community and in the Angular ecosystem. Um, yeah, so here we are. You've seen my face enough times. You know who I am. I have another special guest with me today, which we've talked. We've actually met in person and and everything, and met in person and had conversations, which were good. So glad to have you on. But yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself for the people who may not know who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brendan. Yep. My name is Doguhan Uluca, and I'm an IT consultant in Washington, D.C. I work for a company called Excella. I'm a technical fellow there. And, otherwise, I'm a software engineer, cloud engineer, and an agile expert. So, and on top of that, also, I'm an author. I just recently published the second edition of my
There we
book.
go. We gotta get those
Yeah,
plugs in
yeah,
early. Yeah, I want to
exactly. Yeah,
talk about that
but
too.
the algorithm is fighting me. It's blurring out. There you go. Angular for enterprise-ready web applications. It's
Yeah,
like 900 pages of goodness.
900.
Uh,
Okay, okay, we're
yep.
definitely gonna have to get into that. So what? So you didn't mention this also, but you are a GDE, correct?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
am.
yeah. Because I know, like I said, we've talked. I think our last conversation, we talked. I think you were still in the process of becoming a GDE. So,
Yeah, yeah. It
or
was
you had just became
last
a
year.
GDE, I think.
It was last year at Angular Denver. So
Yep.
that was a pretty good event. Uh,
Yeah. So you work at Excel as a technical fellow. What I guess what does that mean as far as like your day to day? Is that are you still you say you're still doing some software engineering, but I guess it's more is it more oversight or what? I guess what does a technical fellow do at Excel?
right. So it's a basically a recognition of all the work that I've done in the community, plus my open source projects, the couple of books that I published,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. So we have an expert designation as well. So I was an expert for like 5 years, and then I've kind of became like uh, uh, a super expert, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And so my job is kind of, so we have many clients, right? We have 300 plus people, and we have 20 plus clients. And you know yeah, it's sometimes I oversee certain teams. I can be embedded on a team for 2 years sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
or it can be just going to a client for like just a month and overhaul their architecture, or set them in the right path, or whatever. And basically just this being a technical leader in the company. Basically, we have
Mm-hmm.
solution architects and all that stuff. They're more focused on delivery all the time, whereas I'm more a few few steps back. Not that I shy away from the code myself, because I do focus on delivering working prototypes to my team members,
Mm-hmm.
but then I expect them to turn that into a real solution. Like, I don't actually implement that solution, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we got Brian Liu in the chat. I hope I got your last name right. He said he bought your book already 2 months ago, so he already got
Awesome.
some got a good plug there.
Yeah, thank you,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah, so as far as like how you got involved in like Angular open source, I know you got some projects out there. How far? I guess how far do you go back? Do you go back to Angular JS or did you?
I do, yeah. So it was back in 2012. Was so I you know I started off my career on like mobile embedded systems, like
Hmm.
.NET Compact framework and all that stuff. And then when I looked at I had learned HTML or whatever back in 2000, back in high school, college days.
Mm-hmm.
but it never kind of held my interest that much. And then once I became a professional developer, I was looking at ASP.NET back in the day, and I really did not like what I was seeing there. So I kind of like stayed clear from it. And then I kind of with John Papa and all them got into Silverlight,
Mm-hmm.
and I really love that. With Windows Phone was out there, and I'm like, okay, I missed the iPhone boat. Let me try to build an app for this, and
Mm-hmm.
and
So did you have a Windows phone back in the day, or
I did. Yeah,
okay,
I was a
one
big
of the
Windows
few, one
Phone
of the
guy.
few, huh?
Yeah, yeah. It was good. I mean, my first smartphone was the first ever Android phone, like the T-Mobile, the site
The G1.
G1. There you go.
Yep.
Yep. And that was just after a year. It was just terrible, slow, buggy, and all that stuff. So I just uh, and now I'm on an iPhone. I've been on it since iPhone 6. So
Mm-hmm.
anyhow, uh, so then after that Silverlight experience, which was really amazing from a technical perspective, architectural patterns perspective, like as a single developer, I was able to deliver this application for NOAA, for the National Diving Program, like to
Okay.
record all the dives and keep track of equipment and all that stuff. Like as a lone developer, I was able to deliver this solution with like 50 views, in a year and a half, which was mind-blowingly good for like 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So then I got onto this other project where I started looking at the JavaScript front ends with the RESTful APIs, and all that stuff. And that's when kind of we were looking, and we ended up going Backbone instead of Angular back in the day, because we were like, this is too immature.
Mm-hmm.
Backbone is super mature. And because our solution needs to scale up to like 250 views and all that stuff. So that's when I first kind of got into it, and
Mm-hmm.
then I uh, became really enamored by Node.js and like the simplicity of it and all that. And that's when I first heard about ngconf. I'm like, I think that was like after the first year of ngconf. I'm like, I gotta go to this conference. So I went, and then kind of
So you got hooked after
in between
the
there.
first one, huh?
So I went to everyone since the second one, except for the first one. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I think I went to it was either the second or third one, and I
no, you were there in
went.
the second one because
This,
you were talking about the component router.
oh, that's right. See, so many NG comps ago.
Yeah, and your beta component router still lives on
Yes.
in one of my clients. It's
Oh
it's
wow.
it's still routing those screens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still lives on in along with Angular version 3, I guess.
No, this was the Angular JS version with
Oh right.
1.5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I see.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the one we end up trying to backport to Angular JS. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. If you
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
put something out there, people are going to use it, and they're going to use it forever. So,
Yes, definitely. So
and
I
and,
haven't
and
gotten
this
any
is
more issues out of that. So I guess it was pretty solid at the time.
oh yeah, I wouldn't have put it in if I didn't know it was working. I mean,
Hmm.
we did fork it, and I think made like one bug fix or something like that for a specific issue, and
Hmm.
then and I even like published it under my npm account, and it's gotten many thousands of downloads ever since
Okay,
too.
so you keeping it you keeping it going. I have to definitely give a shout out to Pete Bacon Darwin, who I think did a good bit of the heavy lifting on that one,
Yeah,
and other Angular folks at the time like Brian Ford, if I remember correctly, was definitely involved in that too.
yeah. So then basically, when I saw the vision of Angular, uh, becoming like the Silverlight experience that I had in 2011, you know,
Hmm.
and then was it basically? I mean, I kind of avoided Angular 2 and 3, to be honest with you, and kind of got
Well,
into.
everybody avoided Angular 3, so
Oh yeah,
they
yeah,
just
yeah. We skipped it. Okay, yeah, uh, yeah. That was actually, I read a joke about that on Twitter the other day. Um, so yeah, so with Angular 4, it was like basically, oh my God, yes, this is here. I can finally architect something that can stand the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, like the sample projects that I wrote for my book, they all originate from Angular 4, and I just upgraded, over
Mm-hmm.
time to Angular 10 now. So
Okay, so you said that this is the second edition of your book. When did you originally when did you release the first edition? Has it
that
been
came
5 years ago now or
no that came out in 2018, I believe.
okay?
Yeah, so that was 2 years in between them, and
Okay.
yeah, because when I published it, we were at Angular 6. And then and I was talking to Stephen Fluen, hey, check out my book, Angular 6 for enterprise ready web applications, and he's like, man, can you remove that version number from the title? Because we're really trying to de-emphasize the version number. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I kind of fought with my publisher, and they agreed. So we took the version number off the title, and my content really focuses on the fundamentals and the things that are pretty solid and established and that are not so volatile to change
Mm-hmm.
in the framework. I hope it's going to have a longer shelf life from
Yeah,
that.
so I'm just gonna say that you probably have a good bit of emphasis on like ng modules in there because those are at least those are like cornerstone
Yeah,
to Angular developers' knowledge, right?
yeah, for sure. And if everything is separated out logically like that, it also makes your solution a lot more flexible.
Mm-hmm.
You can cut them off as libraries at any point. You can lazy load them, or not. Um, yeah, lots.
Okay. So does the book? I was just say I haven't read the book, so you're gonna have to fill me in. Does the book cover like Angular Enterprise, like start to finish, or it's more of like a high level guide? I guess who's your target audience for the content of the book?
Yeah, so it really targets anyone who is interested in Angular, whether you're experienced with it or not. So if you're kind of just getting into web development, have some experience, it will take you from the beginning, to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are kind of already experienced, then you can kind of skip the first 4 or so chapters, and then we start talking about more scalable patterns and all that stuff. And then it's also very focused on delivery as well. So it's not just about building some sample app. It's making
Okay.
it production ready. It's being able to deploy it on the cloud, and ultimately you end up building a CI/CD pipeline, and you
Mm-hmm.
automatically deploy a container to AWS ECS. So take
Oh
you
wow.
from you
So
take you
you're
from hello
doing
world all the way to a professional solution on AWS.
okay. Cool. Yeah, I know that some books are they kind of take you up to a certain point where you have like a complete app running locally, but don't necessarily go dig into like deployment to an actual server and everything. So that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
and that's when you usually also figure out that oh no, the author forgot to mention some stuff,
Or
right?
yeah, or something has changed over time, and now the steps may be slightly
Yeah.
different. So you got to keep that going, I guess.
So like the first edition, it was kind of I was writing the book as I was coming up with this example, so
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like rolling. But this one, I had a chance to like step back and reorganize all the chapters in a way where you can refer to a particular topic later on more easily. Just turn it over to chapter 13, and you can just revisit that without having to remember what happened in 12 or what's going to happen in 14.
Mm-hmm.
And but that also meant I had to kind of rewrite all the code from scratch, chapter by chapter, and every chapter is an Angular project within the
Okay.
repo. So whenever I make a single code change or a dependency update, I am in parallel building 14 chapters of sample code
Mm-hmm.
and validating that everything builds all the way through in prod mode and all that stuff. Because I got burnt quite a bit, with some subtleties where you build it in dev mode,
Mm-hmm.
everything is fine, and then you build in prod mode, oh no, or even running your unit tests and all that stuff. So it was basically just building this engine that powers the book. That's all, all out there online, open source. I believe we have like 20 interlinked open source projects that kind of support everything. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll drop show the link up here on the screen here. That's great. AngularForEnterprise.com. I see someone in the chat said they deployed an Angular app on IIS. Wow, that's that's pretty hardcore there. It takes me back.
yeah,
Definitely
that's like
deploying to IIS.
bringing a tank to a knife fight. Serving Angular out of IIS. Now all you need is a static file server, really.
Hmm.
One of my favorite services out there is Versal now, I believe
Yeah,
that's what it's
yeah,
called.
for sale. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, is it Vercel? Uh,
One of the two. I'm
okay.
sure
Yeah.
that as long as you're name dropping them, I'm sure they'll take the plug. So
Yeah. I'm not sure if you guys at Narwhal were you guys introducing some kind of a hosting solution? I forget.
not hosting. We have NX Cloud, which helps
Oh yeah,
you scale up your your scale up your tasks that you run on your machine, like testing or building or things
right.
like that. So computation caching is the big term that I'm looking for there. Helps
Got
you
it. Yeah.
scale that up across your teams and across your organization.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
what other you have? So you have the book. Well, you have the second edition of the book. So I know that's been probably. I know you'd be glad to get that next edition out of the door. I know we'll talk about your Angular Evergreen project here in a second. Do you have any other things that you've been like working on recently? Because you like you said you've published the component writer package on npm. You got the book and the associated repo that's there. Do you have any other things out there that you kind of work on to that you kind of put out there for people to use or
um,
learn from?
yeah. So my website is expertlysimple.io.
Mm-hmm.
And under there's like this open source projects and tools link, and I can share that uh, with you in the private chat here real
Okay.
quick. And so yeah, I've like uh, a full stack kind of Node.js based project, which I call minimal mean, um, and that comes with a a MongoDB helper called document ts that I also put together.
Mm-hmm.
So it uses Express.js and Angular, and it's all kind of meant to be super minimalistic, without introducing, all these mongoose or, yeah, any of these frameworks that, hide away all the complexity from you. It tries to expose as much of the internals as possible to you with just, some quality of life um, features, because that's why how I find is the best way to learn
Mm-hmm.
these technologies. Because like if you're doing mean stack development or full stack Node.js JavaScript development, and you're working against MongoDB, and if you're not familiar with how the native driver MongoDB driver works,
Mm-hmm.
you're never going to be able to squeeze any kind of performance out of what you're doing. So all these libraries are great to get you started, but then the moment you kind of push it a little bit, you start running into issues within those libraries, and you know you or other places where things have been abstracted away from you, and you're not
Mm-hmm.
really getting what's going on behind the scenes. So I really that's why I put some of these helper projects out there. So they'll just give you just a little bit of help, but it then expects you to be able to read Express.js documentation, MongoDB documentation, and
Mm-hmm.
Angular documentation to get your job done.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I brought the website up here so I was just kind of scanning through here, but yeah, it seems like you definitely put
Yeah.
some effort into that to try to, like I said, connect the dots for other developers who are going with the mean stack and kind of need a little more guidance from there. So
Yep.
definitely cool.
And all the Docker containers you need to make these sing in production, they're also there.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's containerizing a MongoDB is a pretty powerful,
Yeah.
thing.
Okay. Okay. So now we can get to the next part because you got the book that talks about, from beginning to your building your application to your deploying your application, and of course we know that that doesn't stop there. So you get along, you're working on your Angular app, and 6 months roll by, and guess what happens? A new version of Angular comes out, and maybe you skip that version, and maybe then 6 months is like clockwork. 6 months, more months go by, and another version comes out.
Yep.
So the Angular team definitely encourages the users of Angular to stay up to date as much as possible. So, stay close to the most recent version of Angular pretty soon after it gets released, so you don't get too far behind and have to deal with those upgrades. So you've gone and we talked about this at Angular Denver about the Angular Evergreen project. So kind of tell me like what the motivation for creating that project was and like kind of how it works.
Yeah, it was mostly I was so annoyed when I was writing my book, and I think I was targeting like Angular 6, and I had
Mm-hmm.
to be on the next version or the RC release or whatever, and it was coming out, every 2 to 3 days or something like that, and I'm trying to like finalize my stuff and publish the first edition, and I'm just finding myself in a position where, okay, I can't keep up with this anymore, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna remember to go to command line and run the npm info command, every 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
to figure out if there's been an update or not. So
Oh,
I had
the good old NG update is
right.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so that's when I had the idea of, okay, this would be great if it's just, while I'm in my IDE, I'm just working, and then if there's an update, just let me know.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I need to look out for a blog post, or why do I need to do anything? Because I'm focused at that point, and that focus, when you say people, upgrade, 6 months later or something like that, it's not for a lack of this desire to upgrade. It's
Mm-hmm.
just most people, they just install it and then they can get on with their lives, because they have work to deliver, they have
Yeah,
features
right.
to build out,
Yeah,
they have
definitely when
client
you're
issues.
at like large companies and upgrading is still a task that they have to do, and some of them will push it off just because, like I said, you got other things to do at the time that you're trying to ship code or ship features and things. So.
Yeah. And the more you push it off, right, the harder it becomes,
Mm-hmm.
right. If you push off, two major versions, then you're in potentially big trouble. You're going to spend a lot of time, upgrading. My idea was, okay, if I can encourage, fellow developers to upgrade to even every patch release, right? And those patch releases are also, no joke, right? They contain, sometimes security updates and all that stuff, and they fix bugs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you do want those fixes out to your users as quickly as possible too, uh, right? So that's why I had the idea of building this VS Code extension, which has been out there for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it does is it looks at your Angular JSON file, and then figures out your version number, and then checks it against the new one, and it tells you the current version, the latest current version, but it also
Mm-hmm.
tells you simultaneously the next version that's available. So you can be more aware, right? So most people might not know, Angular 11 is pretty close to release, right? But if you put that information in front of developers all the time, they're going to be more aware of. Okay, Angular 11 is coming out. It's already in RC.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start talking about this. Let's prep. When can we upgrade? So it's um,
Yeah, I
it's
know that of
just
course
giving that awareness.
the latest RC for Angular 11 just came out. So, like you said, you're right back on the treadmill again to
Right.
try to get up to date.
So if we can create this awareness with every developer on the team, not just a tech lead or an architect,
Mm-hmm.
then when the developers on the team start demanding this stuff, hey, I checked out Angular 11. There's lots of cool stuff in it. When are we upgrading? Then the organization is going to be, or the team is going to be more likely to upgrade sooner. And
Mm-hmm.
we've been doing this on my current team. We've just been, trying to upgrade as often as possible. Every
Mm-hmm.
patch release, every minor release. And the more we do it, the more it becomes routine. The more, now it's just all we have to do is just put a story in the backlog, upgrade to Angular 11, and no one even questions it anymore.
Okay.
Whereas the very first one was like, whoa, what is this about? Is this going to break everything? You know, it's like, no, it's not going to. It's going to be great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
the Angular team definitely has worked on the upgrade process over time to try to make that. I think that's the ideal situation they want you to be in, to where you can hit ng update, even on patch releases and not run into any like breaking things, accidentally, or having those migrations in there so that so those things will run to update your project or projects if you're working within like a monorepo, like an NX repo. Got that plug in there
yeah,
for multiple
absolutely.
projects. Um, so yeah, I definitely like that, and definitely like how you have on the site here, like it's like a one click install just from or for VS Code, and seems like you're getting some good traction on it too.
Yeah,
So.
we have about 1,600 installs, active installs right now,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, I've definitely snuck in some scripts in there that makes the process easier for you.
Mm-hmm.
So one click, it'll go ahead, delete your node modules folder for you. It'll reinstall everything from scratch, because that you can always run into some quirk of npm or something downstream where
Yeah.
you think everything is fine, but then when it goes to the server, or your CI server, you know something breaks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just
Yeah. Sometimes
trying
it's
to
always better to just like take take an axe to node modules and just clean them out completely, just so you
yeah,
know you're at like a clean working state at least.
exactly, yeah. And then some other scripts. I do have some npm packages out there that offer like standardized, you know according to my standards,
Mm-hmm.
like settings for TypeScript, Angular, VS Code, and all that stuff. Because I was getting annoyed, replicating the same stuff, same setup on,
Mm-hmm.
project over project. So there's some buttons on there where it will just apply the latest of everything. Because another issue is you're using ESLint or TSLint or what have you, and then they release an update, and then
Yeah.
they go ahead and break something. They change some rule, and then all of a sudden everything goes haywire.
You mean
And
breaking something within a patch release? Nobody does that.
uh,
Nobody does that.
no,
No, no,
no,
just kidding.
not a patch release, but if a major version of ESLint comes out,
Mm-hmm.
I'll install it.
Man,
Why not?
you living like hardcore,
Well,
but I guess
yeah,
that's how you got to be, right?
that's the thing. The server that hosts all of my websites, it's like a $5 a month DigitalOcean instance.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is containerized, and I have a container in there to automatically renew my Let's Encrypt certs for HTTPS, SSL. And then I have also another container in there. What it does is it looks the Docker Hub for the latest versions of any image there, and it'll automatically pull it and put it live the moment it's available.
Okay.
So it's a fully evergreen setup.
You are definitely living the, I'm going to call it the evergreen life. You,
Yeah, yeah.
all my tools, all my
Because
platforms are on latest.
otherwise you don't realize, it's almost like a ticking time bomb. Some upgrade happens, and
Hmm.
then you let months pass by before you realize that, oh my god, this thing that we just developed, 6 months ago, is broken in this new release. But then who remembers developing this feature, guys,
Hmm.
or gals? Oh no, that person quit, 3 weeks ago. No one knows, and then it becomes a problem to upgrade your dependencies.
Hmm.
So the more you can bring that pain closer to your kind of daily life, the easier it becomes. Everyone becomes more attuned to dealing with the curveballs of JavaScript development,
Hmm.
basically.
Just sharing a little bit of the pain and joy for
Exactly.
for everyone to have. I can definitely understand that. Well, cool. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for sharing those projects. Is there anything else? Any other things you'd like to plug? You want to hold the book up again so people
Sure,
can
absolutely. Yeah.
definitely
Here
see
it
it and
is. It is Angular for Enterprise Ready Web Applications, second edition. It should be available on the bookstore of your choice, but definitely on Amazon. Yes, it is. It is thick. It is. It is 800 pages on the print, and then a couple of chapters didn't fit in, and those are available on my website.
I like how the chat is talking about the amount of content in the book. Let's keep it at that. Okay, I actually do have to ask one more question. Are there any chapters on NGRX in there? I have to ask.
Uh, there is. There is.
Okay,
Actually,
cool.
that was one of the reasons why it become.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Uh-oh,
uh,
here we go. That's the reason why the chapter. So you're saying it's 200 pages of Angular and then like 700 pages talking about how you do NGRX. Is that where we're going? Is that what we're doing here?
uh, so in terms of NGRX, what I really wanted to do there was, there's lots of confusion in terms of, like, do I use it? Do I not use it? Do I always use it? Do I sometimes, like, when do I use it? So what I really wanted to do was to let the reader re-implement the same exact feature,
Mm-hmm.
one in just subject behaviors, which I'm a fan of, and then other in NGRX,
Mm-hmm.
and then just observe the difference in between the two and realize, what you're getting into, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and with that, I hope to communicate to people, up to a point, keep your architecture simple, but beyond that point, you absolutely need, something like NGRX. Otherwise, you're gonna die. So, uh, and it takes a lot of experience to understand where that point is. And if you misjudge that point, you can be taking over a lot of architectural overhead, sometimes for no good reason. So
Yeah.
it's all about trying to, make sure people understand, their options out there. So.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, like I said, I know that people are gonna in the chat are gonna go for the easy one and say there's a lot of boilerplate in there because of that. But I'm gonna say you should definitely check out the book anyway, and and level up your Angular knowledge, even if you're a beginner or uh, using the using it already.
Yep.
So
If you want to get into Docker containerization, lots of good stuff about unit testing in there as well. Lots of cloud stuff
hmm.
with AWS, Vercel now, Google Cloud. There, Cloud Run platform is pretty cool
Okay.
for containers. And then also there is an end-to-end full stack implementation in there as well, with authentication, mind you.
Mm.
Um, and so it all works, and all the CI
Hmm.
configurations, all the secret sauce, all the hard stuff, everything is in there. And I try to joke, hey, I just wrote 300 blog posts and put it into a book. But the difference between, I guess, a book and 300
Mhm.
blog posts, they allow you to cheat. They allow you to change your mind, 6 months later, and slowly shift your patterns, to a different place.
Mhm.
Whereas a book has to be self-consistent all the way through from start to finish.
Yeah.
So it's all in there. So if you're getting in, even some of the earlier chapters, you might look at it and say, "Man, this is simple stuff. I can read this up on Angular IO, all that." Yes, you definitely can, because I read it a lot myself. But I do put a lot of tips and tricks in there. And the thing is, whatever you're reading early on, they all connect up 14 chapters later when you're deploying everything to the cloud, and there's no oops moment. You just do it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Definitely props to you for putting that together. And thank you for coming on and talk about those links. I shared those links in the chat room, and I'll add those to the show notes. Definitely after the show, I'm going to throw your Twitter handle up here, so people can definitely follow you there for updates, and so you can definitely get some more plugs in for the book. Definitely got some fans of the book in the chat room here. I'm gonna throw that
Thank you,
up there
Brian.
again. Yep. Thanks for that. Thanks for everyone who came and hung out in the chat and and kept the chat going there.
And
Thanks for that.
on my Pac-Man machine here,
Okay, yeah. Let me get into that real quick.
I'm up to 57,000. I do have picture proof.
Okay, I
So
was gonna ask you if that was like a background or if that's actual.
yeah, it's one of those arcade one up machines.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a 3/4 size, so it fits into places. It's not a full size cabinet, but I really like it. I did have to replace the joystick with a Senwa Denshi.
hmm.
It did require breaking out the soldering iron and all that, but
Oh wow. So you're
it,
not gonna let that one go for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you again for coming on, and hopefully we'll have to have you on again another time so you can give us an update on the book and the Angular Evergreen project, because you definitely put a lot of work into that. So
Absolutely, my
thanks to
pleasure. Thank you.
you, and thanks to everyone else, and we'll see you later.